All right, what's up, everybody? Today's a fun video. This idea originally stemmed from Bald Omni Man. He's got a great channel. If you aren't subscribed to him, definitely go check him out. He makes great content for size and for strength if that interests you. And thanks to Fast Lifts as well, good buddy of mine on here gave me the shout out to put my top 10 in a video like this. So with that being said, I think I should give you guys a little bit of context on what this video truly is and how I'm making this list. So these are 10 lifts that I would pick if I was limited to 10 lifts. If somebody was to strip me of all my gains and all my progress and turn me back into a young basement that's 145 pounds, these are the 10 lifts I would pick to then rebuild my physique. So there's a few things taken into account with programming, not a whole ton. This isn't like, oh, well, I hit my triceps a little bit on this movement, so I'm going to skip tricep isolation altogether. There's a little bit of overlap with certain programming concerns that I'll touch on with each lift, but this is mostly just 10 lifts that I can work hard on, not have to worry too much about recovery, so I can get enough volume and generally structure a good program with these 10 lifts. And this is something that's kind of out of my niche too, because as you know, I hate minimalism. I hate things like, oh, only 10 lifts and whatnot. So it is a unique challenge for me. And I think that I almost got it down. I'm like 80% satisfied with this list. A couple honorable mentions that hurts my soul to leave off this list are going to be machine power shrugs, stretched wrist curls, and reverse curls. It's hard to leave those lifts off. Also, I did have to leave off fly variations. I know it sucks. And single arm lat pull downs, or like the iliac pull down, not in that super strict kind of like pussy way, but in the actual like use a little bit of cheat, treat it more like a dumbbell row type of lift. No offense to anyone that does them in the strict way, I just not my cup of tea. So with all that being said, let's get to these top 10. This is in no order, by the way, so don't think that number one is one for a reason. There's no way to organize this because they're all targeting mostly different muscles. So in no order, the first lift I have written down, the one-arm dumbbell row. It's hard to picture me rebuilding my physique without using this lift. It's just something that was such a staple for me for so long, and it's something that truly builds multiple muscles at once. As you know, one of my philosophies is that you don't want to bank on compound lifts building your entire physique, because why not isolate? It's not going to steal a whole ton of recovery or time from you. Do your isolations. That's your insurance policy. Half the muscles in your body are best trained through isolation lifts. But there is an exception with this one-arm dumbbell row. It's a killer for your lats, but more importantly, it's a killer for your traps, especially your mid to lower traps in that rhomboid area. This is about as good as it gets. There's not a whole ton that can really rival the one-arm dumbbell row. I know it's unilateral, so not everybody's a fan of doing each arm separately to take more time and whatnot. But the stretch, oh my God, the squeeze, the ability to do a dead stop, to use a little cheat and momentum, to go heavy, to go light, they're all effective, and it's incredible. Once you have your technique down and you just get that ruthless stretch in your upper back, there's very few lifts that compete with this. Maybe certain machines, maybe a cable row in certain scenarios, but it's hard not to pick the one-arm dumbbell row. Number two, I have the dead stop easy bar curl. This is something that you can spam in your program. The easy bar is going to be very joint friendly for your wrists and for your elbows. It's also a great bicep mass builder. It keeps your form strict. I've had good success training my biceps and getting results with strict form. So using a dead stop, it keeps it strict, and it makes sure that as I add reps and add weight, I'm not just artificially progressing, I'm actually building muscle, which is leading to that progression. It's a fun lift too. There's nothing like grinding out a curl from a dead stop. It's like the satisfaction that power lifters get from doing a deadlift. You just take that exact satisfaction and put it into me, a basement bodybuilder with dead stop curls. That's basically the way I see them, and they're so fun. They get you jacked biceps. Number three, I'd have to go with the incline lateral raise. This wasn't a staple in my program, but if I had to rebuild and be efficient and optimal, this is what I'd pick. So 45-degree angle, leading on my side, getting a nice stretch, getting good tension at the bottom range of the range of motion, and also getting a decent amount at the top too. So this is why I'm not doing the flat one or the standing lateral raise. This gives you a nice solid tension curve. It's a fun lift too. You get to lie down when you do it, and you get wide shoulders. Like, I don't see what we're missing out on here. Number four, This lift is very, very low on the enjoyability ranking, but for anything that's involving your direct ab training, I do think this is the most, I guess, enjoyable one if I had to pick one. So decline sit-ups, these are solid. They're a good overall mass builder for the abs. You can use your body weight. You can slowly go heavier. It's not like you're doing a certain cable crunch or something where the weight starts to get a little bit too heavy, at least in my scenarios. So I do like to do a decline sit-up, keep that going strong. It is what it is. Like I'm putting it on there because I should be doing something for abs. I don't enjoy ab training directly, so that's just on there because it has to be, unfortunately. Number 5, Smith machine hack squats. This is killer for the quads. This is almost as good as it gets. If you can keep them strict and just once you find your stance and you find your depth, there really is nothing better for your quads than a lift like this. And I'm not saying this to put this lift on a pedestal because there's a bunch of ways to build your quads, but it's overall just a great lift. You can do as many sets as you need to. It's not overly taxing on your systemic fatigue, so you don't have to worry too much about recovery. Like a low bar squat, that's another story. If I could only do low bar squats, now I'm probably not getting enough of quality volume in because you get so strong at them since you're so leveraged to where I'm just missing out on gains. So to stick with something like this, where it biases your quads so much, it works well for growing them. I'm seeing great gains from doing them. I'm happy I got that Smith machine. So Smith machine hacks, definitely got to be in there. Number 6 is going to be RDLs. I need something to work my lower back and spinal erectors a little bit. This will be a decent overall mass builder for the back, but this is primarily for glutes and hamstrings. Smith machine hack squat, that misses out on the glute and the low back gains that a regular high bar or particularly a low bar squat would give you. So that's where the RDL makes it up and does a better job of it. So now instead of trying to do everything at once in a low bar squat, I'm taking the best of both worlds and just doing 2 lifts instead. So that works perfectly fine. I'd rather do 2 lifts and have better results than try and do 1 lift and get half-assed results. So RDL's definitely going to be in there. Killer for the glutes and hams and that low back too. Number 7, neutral grip pull-up. This is one that I've built my lats with probably more than anything else. This and single arm cable pull downs on the standalone cable station. Just great lifts overall. This list wouldn't be a list without neutral grip pull-ups. This is what I built like my best muscle group on. I have freaky lats. That's my genetic. I don't even know if it's genetics. I think it's just because I trained it properly from the start. It could be genetics too. I don't know. This lift has done so much for me. I'd be doing it a disservice if I didn't put this guy back on the list. Number 8, we have the Smith machine JM press. This is a tricep push down on steroids. This is great for my intermediate and advanced guys once you have a little bit more mass on your forearms and biceps and you have some tendon strength in your elbows and in that general region. Incredible lift. I'm finally seeing the lateral head of my tricep actually start to pop out, and it's purely because of this lift. I've done push downs forever with decent form, not that great, but with a full range of motion, a JM press on a Smith machine, it murders particularly the lateral head of your triceps, mostly your entire tricep in general. So triceps are a super high priority for me. That's why you're going to see them on the list actually twice here. Smith machine JM press wakes me up in the morning. If I didn't do them, I'd be depressed. This gets me in the gym at 7 a.m. So I do have to give it props, keep them on this list. Number 9, leaning cable overhead extension. I like these because you can use a little bit more cheat. And obviously for me, triceps are a key muscle. They're a lagging muscle for me too. They always have been. I think that's a genetic thing. So getting overhead work, it's just more insurance. It's guaranteeing that I'm actually stimulating the long head, getting everything that I can out of my tricep movement. So for me, it's going to be a staple. I've always done overhead tricep work. That's the first thing I looked into and researched when I was a young basement. And that was the first lift that my program revolved around when I was 17 was overhead extensions with an easy bar. And I do slightly prefer them on the cable now, particularly because I don't have the best setup for the easy bar here. But the cable's great. It's given me great gains. It's fun. You can cheat a little bit and it's easy to set up. And yeah, it's a great lift. Couldn't skip it out on this list. So the last one that I've got here, you guys probably all know what it is at this point because there's no chest movements yet. This would be a plate-loaded Converging bench machine. So there's a hammer strength machine. I'm sure a few other companies make them. Just a plate loaded, you lie on your back and you just press in and together with the lever arms on that machine. So this is a great lift. You can get super high volume if you need to with very little in terms of recovery. It gives you a great stretch. It's easy to fit into a program. It's easy to superset with something like that dead stop easy curl. It's a great lift all around. The problem with chest training is that you have some lifts that are great for performance in terms of strength. So you take like a bench press or something like that, but there's downsides to it because you're not getting a full range of motion on your pecs. But then you take something like a fly where the form gets a little bit wonky, or it's kind of tough to tell if you're actually progressing. And it's just a little bit like it gives you the stretch, but it doesn't quite give you that maximum force output from your pecs. So I think this machine does a pretty good job of combining the two. You could also do like the neutral grip, wide grip dumbbell press, but the machine, I think it's going to be a little bit better. I prefer to have an overhand grip rather than a neutral grip anyways. So this lift, hard to leave out. And it's fun too. I think that's what it all comes down to. So with that being said, that's my entire list. Leave your top 10 lifts if you had to rebuild your physique from scratch in the comments. I'd love to see what you guys think, what you agree with, and what you disagree with on my list. I'd be curious to hear about that too. So I'm going to leave it at that. I will see you guys soon.